Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful. It's Monday. We're just about 2 days before July, 1 month of winter over. It's Rachna here. I'm the CEO at the Graduate Students Association at the University of Melbourne. Well, another Monday and a wonderful day to kind of meet all our leaders and all the emerging leaders at GSA. So before I get on to the GradChat program and facilitate the conversation, I'd like to, on behalf of GSA, acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from where I am broadcasting. It's the Wurundjeri land of the Kulin Nations. And I'd like to pay my respect to past, present, and the emerging leaders, and also acknowledge the land on which I am a part of the migrant journey, the land of the Aboriginal people, and pay my respect to the traditional custodians of this land and my respect to the Torres Strait Islanders. So it's a beautiful Monday afternoon, and many of you would have actually, I believe, even finished your exams. So it is your me time for the researchers and people who are doing thesis. It's a time to feel a bit envious over the others who are going to have a bit of a break and enjoy themselves. But what a wonderful afternoon, because I have 3 council members from GSA. Some people whom I've had very long associations. That is 9 months of my journey at GSA. But I thought it's wonderful to meet our GSA president, Jeremy Waite, 2 OB officers, Lauren Taylor, the LGBTQI officer, and who has had a long-standing association with GSA well before this tenure, and Ruby Russell, who is here with us as our health and well-being OB. So welcome to all of you. And I also have Monica and Saeid, who will be joining us a little later in the program with Tavita. So welcome to all the 3 council members and congratulations. So Jeremy, wow, wonderful being a GSA president. And tell me a little bit about your journey into GSA, and then we'll talk about your presidency. I feel a bit like the White House thing, but you don't want to be compared there now. So let's talk a little bit about your association with the GSA Council. So how long have you been associated with the GSA Council and your journey to GSA?
Sure. Thanks, Rachna, and thank you to everybody else. So I have been on GSA Council since November last year. And in that time, I've taken on a few different roles, mostly activities officer and executive councillor. And of course, now after these elections, I am the new president. So that's been my involvement with GSA. More broadly in the graduate community, I've been a graduate student at Melbourne Uni for the past 3 years, I believe. So I'm in my 2nd year of my Juris Doctor at Melbourne Law School. But before that, I was also a Master of International Relations student as well. So I've been around for a bit longer. And I think the kind of impetus for me to get involved more with GSA was I didn't get that involved when I first started at uni. So it was kind of something I was really wanting to do, and I found it to be a fantastic experience so far.
Fantastic. And I guess I'm always intrigued when I talk to leadership roles about how do you being a leader, is that something you've always been, right from school and into student politics, and or is it something like you kind of thought about it and thought, wow, this is a good time to take up an advocacy? Was that a transition, or something always, born a leader, always a leader kind of story?
Sure. I think I don't think it's something that I'd always kind of seen myself doing. I think, it wasn't necessarily something I aspired to be a leader. But I think, once you find your passion, and once you kind of know who you are a bit better, when you first start uni, it's kind of hard to have a full grasp of, who you are and where you fit in the world. But I think, as time moves on, I think kind of everyone has that kind of leadership ability within them. And I think I've discovered that within myself over the past few years. And I think as soon as you work out what your passions are and how you can use leadership to further those interests and passions, I think that's when it becomes a lot easier. And it kind of comes naturally to you from that point on.
That's so aspiring to people who are kind of looking at, coming on to GSA and trying to, I think it's an amazing organization for people to explore their leadership and follow that passion. So new president, and you've had, you've been involved with the previous council on a very exciting journey for about 6 to 7 months, doing great job in, leading and facilitating a constitutional change. So what's your vision as a president for GSA, and what do you kind of want to achieve in the next 12 months?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I think as I kind of related to what I said earlier, as someone who didn't get that involved with student unions for quite a long time, I want GSA to be an organization that, truly is, as we've been saying for a while, at the heart of graduate student life. I think making sure that we're including as many people as possible in the conversations that we're having with the university and in our advocacy. And I think really, broadening what the organization can do for students. And I think it is kind of an interesting time to be involved with GSA, because it is going through such a big process of, reinventing itself almost through its new governance structure, and how it will be representing students into the future. So it's a really kind of pivotal time to be involved. And I'm really looking forward to kind of setting the future direction of the organization through what we do over the next 12 months.
Very inspiring. And I think you articulated it really well, that even in the current environment we've kind of faced ourselves in a global context is pretty challenging. And for every individual, directly or indirectly, life has changed. And so the person who leads, their quality is extremely, I think it's something where people look forward to a leadership style. So if you have reflected on your leadership style, Jeremy, what is the most important thing to you as a leader?
So I think this is kind of the funny part, kind of why I didn't necessarily see myself as a leader a few years ago, because I'm not necessarily like the most loud or most confident person in the room. Anyone that knows me would kind of see that. I think I really enjoy listening to people. I think I really see the role of president as one that kind of echoes what the rest of council and the rest of graduate students are wanting from their president. And that's a skill, like it's a skill that I have, but it's also something I really enjoy. So I think being really kind of connected with graduate communities and the council is a big part of leadership. And like I said, you can be a leader without having to be the most loud and most confident person, essentially.
Well, I can echo those qualities, and you having been closely working with you over the last 8-9 months, who has ardently kind of supported GSA through the reform and ensuring that graduates are well represented in our new constitution. I mean, I think your advocacy for equity and access has just been amazing and astounding. So thank you so much. And I guess my most important thing is, I remember you taking on the office and saying the most important thing for you is to be connected and be out there networking. So I understand you'll be kind of heading off to different meetings and talking to different stakeholders. But if I'm a graduate student, what's the best way, Jeremy, if I want to just have a chat with you? Would that be the email that they can connect you with, contact you?
Yeah, of course. I hope at least part of what I'm conveying is that I'm someone that's incredibly open to people contacting me and letting them know what they want to see. They want to see in GSA and what we're doing. So yeah, I hope everyone listening feels that they can contact me. I do have an email, so it's just president@gsa.unimelc.edu.au. Feel free to send through an email about kind of whatever whatever issue that you have or whatever concern or interest that you have. And I would love to be able to have a chat with whatever that is. Unfortunately, probably at the moment, it's a bit harder to do it over like a coffee or something, but definitely happy to meet in whatever appropriate environment there is at this kind of challenging time.
Thank you, Jeremy. I mean, I think from us at the staff at GSA, our commitment is to ensure that every opportunity that we can bring the council members involved in our activity and participate in programs like these. They've always been very supportive, and I definitely encourage all the graduates to just contact the council members. They are your representative. You can articulate your concerns, and they're the best people to represent you. So thank you, Jeremy. And of course, I'm going to then move on to Lauren. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, Rachna. I'm good, thanks.
Oh, well, Lauren, I have to start off with congratulations, but no surprises seeing you back on GSA Council.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I probably have to share this little story with everyone about when I first met you, Lauren. She would stay in the 188 building, and she was a part of the council, yet it was a person called as an associate council member. I never knew why. But then I realized if you don't know anything, there's one person to go, and that was the associate council member who sat there very ardently waiting for her turn. So welcome, really, Lauren. Tell us a little bit about your journey at GSA. I think it's something we should share today.
Yeah, sure. So just before I start, I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm currently on Wurundjeri land, and that this land was stolen and never ceded, and also to acknowledge the powerful leadership of LGBTIQ Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So my involvement in GSA has lasted for quite a while, as you kind of alluded to. So I first kind of got involved with GSA in 2017, which was the year I started my MD, my Doctor of Medicine. So this was the year of the big marriage equality postal survey, plebiscite, whatever you want to call it. And I was kind of drawn to GSA because it was one of the few organisations active on campus that I really saw stepping up and taking action and supporting me as an LGBTIQ student. So I first got involved then, and then I took up a spot on the Respect Task Force Student Reference Group, advocating for students who experience sexual assault or sexual harassment on campus. And then I was first elected to GSA Council back in, I think it was September of 2018. So I've been around for a while. And the role kind of has two parts. So wearing the councillor hat, I've continued advocating on sexual assault and sexual harassment. It's a particular issue for medical students and other students who do placements. I currently sit on an MDHS teaching and learning committee. Particularly during COVID-19, I do a lot of advocacy for students on placement, supporting the amazing work that does, which is our medical student society, and escalating some of the issues that come to them up to Chancellery. And more recently, I've been involved in the NTU's Safe Higher Ed campaign, acknowledging that cuts to staff, particularly casual staff, mean cuts to subjects, which impacts on our education, and making sure that our students don't end up paying more for a worse degree.
Fantastic. So I'm going to kind of narrow you and ask you a little bit about, I mean, I think that's a really good perspective. People take on office bearers roles and they have a particular interest, and I'll talk to Lauren a little bit more about it. But to understand that when you're on a representative organization, that, you know, using your position for advocating on issues is one of the most important and powerful things that you can actually do, and be able to, you know, collaborate, as Jeremy, the president, has spoken about, united with 15 people who lead the organization of really nearly 31,000 representatives from the graduates, and trying to opportunity to leverage your position and capacity to enhance the issue. So talk me a little through about your role in an LGBTQI role. And I think my interest is particularly, I think we've spoken about it, the interest itself of that portfolio is very different, varied, and diverse. How do you advocate on behalf of that cohort, and what are some of your messaging of what you want to achieve in the next 12 months?
Yeah, so again, just like council, being an LGBTIQ officer, it's about being very collaborative. Because I can't possibly represent, the amazing diversity of sexuality and gender and all of those things. I can't represent them as one person, so it's really important to be collaborative and to know when to speak and when to shut up and listen to other people's experiences. So I work quite closely with the UMSU Queer OBs and with the Pride in Action Network, which is the network of LGBTIQ staff and students and anybody who considers themselves an ally. So we organise things like Midsummer Pride March and Wear It Purple celebrations and Ida Hobbit, as well as doing advocacy work for a safer campus and for better representation of LGBTIQ people throughout the uni. And at the moment, we're working on LGBTIQ ally training being designed by students for student allies that will be presented by LGBTIQ students. So we've recently received a SAF grant for that, which is very exciting.
Fantastic. And just before I let move on to Ruby, I just wanted to ask you about the issues that you raised about sexual harassment and issues of concern for the students that is there. What do you think the best way for students or graduates particularly to ensure that this work is undertaken seriously and a commitment to follow this through? What is the best way for students to voice their concerns and issues?
Yeah, so at least for students who spend most of their time not on the Parkville campus and on placements, such as myself, it's very difficult to engage with some of the resources that are available physically on the Parkville campus, like Safer Communities, who do amazing work, but they're not very accessible to those who aren't on campus most of the time. And so I think it's really important to raise awareness amongst students who don't spend much time on the Parkville campus, the other options that they have in order to report instances of assault or harassment, as well as concerns that they may have about their safety, whether or not anything has happened. And I think it's really important for us to continue to advocate for a survivor-centric approach. So making sure that there's a range of options for students that experience issues, experience assault and harassment, and make sure that, they're in charge of the entire process.
I'm always intrigued. I mean, as a person who's not from a medical fraternity or faculty, how do you find the time, Lauren, to manage that complex, I don't know, it always amazes me of how you find interest to do the advocacy work while pursuing your profession. Is that just, as Jeremy said, a passion, or is it something that you're just committed to as an individual right from a very young, understanding age that advocacy is important for you?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is I have a very supportive faculty and a very supportive school. They acknowledge the importance of doctors being able to look beyond just the patient in front of them to see the broader societal issues that affect their health. And obviously, sexual assault and harassment is a huge one. But yeah, it's also just a real passion of mine and something that I want to pursue in my broader career.
Fantastic. So Lauren, what is the best way for graduates to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way would be my GSA email. So that's lgbtiq@gsa.unimel.edu.au.
So thank you so much, Lauren. I'm sure I encourage all the graduates to, if you're pursuing an advocacy and interest role, Lauren is a really good mentor to kind of understand how to undertake that advocacy and get the networks going. But also in relation to issues that you'd like to discuss, I definitely encourage you to contact Lauren, and the staff really look forward to working with you again, Lauren, this year. And of course, for us to ever grow, but also to be kind of supporting you in your work and the advocacy that you undertake on behalf of GSA. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachna.
Well, we have a new member on board, and Ruby, who is our Health and Wellbeing Officer. So congratulations, Ruby, for taking on the role of the council membership and the health and well-being role. So tell us a little bit about what you're studying and your journey into GSA.
Well, thank you, Rachna, for that. And hello, everyone listening and everyone else on the panel. I'm very excited to be a part of GSA. I've just started my Masters of Teaching in Secondary at Melbourne Uni, and I came from RMIT. So it's all a big learning curve at a new uni and a new course. And so it's sort of been a bit of a whirlwind. But a few people suggested to me to look into GSA and apply. And I think it's been a great opportunity for me, considering it's a new environment and, you have to meet a lot of new people and understand how everything works. So some people recommended it, and I looked into it, and I spoke to some other people who were on council, and I thought this is just a great opportunity and something I'd really love to be a part of.
Fantastic. And you've been at the you're doing your master's in teaching, right? Is that right, Ruby? Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about the work that you do as training to be a person who will be in the teaching faculty, and the interests that you have in the council work, that is to be a good advocate. Is it a good opportunity for you to network and get to know more about the university, this role that you're doing as a council member?
I think it's definitely about making connections with students and other staff, other people involved. And I mean, I suppose if I think about it, it's making those connections is something that obviously is a big part of my course, teaching students, younger people, like a lot younger than me, and understanding how, how they think, what their voice is, how they, are heard. So I do think what I'm studying as a teacher and thinking about my role in GSA, does have a very strong connection and link.
Fantastic. So let's go to it's a very important portfolio, the health and well-being. And we find ourselves during COVID-19 to be, apart from the pandemic issues, which which are a medical response to it, the impact on just the community's health and well-being has been, greatly impacted. Yeah. And you taking on this role at GSA is extremely important, because I think emotional health and well-being is the forefront of one of our objectives at GSA. For you, what does health and well-being, mean to you, and its importance that you place for it in the life of an individual or a graduate at the university?
Well, I think health and well-being encompasses a broad range of aspects to do with everybody. It's not just physical health, it's also emotional health, mental health, and there's a lot of different facets involved with each one, and they all can, impact each other. So physical health can impact mental health and well-being. So, this time right now that we're all in is something that a lot of us haven't experienced. Like, a pandemic, I've no you know, have never been a part of before. So it's a big learning curve for a lot of people. And particularly with having to work and study from home, again, that puts a lot of challenges on, you know, everyone's daily life. So that again can present new challenges for people, and things that may be manageable have potentially, you know, resurfaced as something that people need to focus on and, you know, kind of have some more control and information on their health and well-being. So I think it's certainly a different time for people at the moment, and, you know, isolation sometimes is great for others and not so good for some. So
Thank you, Ruby. And I think you rightly said is, you know, it is something that many of us have never experienced in our lifetime, and hope we don't have to very often.
yes.
But I think there are some commonalities that we have, you know, a principle of being isolated, or the understanding of being you know, detained in a particular confined area that we can't move from here to there. You know, those are real issues, and we've kind of had a soft experience of that. That's there. So I'm sure for you, you've thought about, and it's very early days for you at GSA,
Yes. Yeah.
but you know, just thinking about from your perspective, just a vision, like, you know, what does an organization just like GSA, even if they're practical things that you've thought about, is important for us to kind of focus over the next 12 months to support our graduates?
Yes, well, one thing that I think is important is to just have a support network and have information that graduates can access and know where to access this information and help. I mean, some people don't know where to look, and so they never have that opportunity to access that information or support network. So just, you know, in the next 12 months, making that really like clear and known for graduates, and what support is available is something that I would like to, you know, I suppose make happen. And that's the vision, to just, you know, further solidify what's already existing in GSA, and really just a push for lots of different areas in physical health, reproductive health, mental health, mental illness, and just general well-being. Like that, I feel like most people would have an aspect in their life that they could use some support or just some more information in those areas.
Great. And have you kind of thought of any, the interconnection between your portfolio and the other portfolios that, you know, GSA definitely supports? That's international students, families, you know, different cohorts that are kind of correlated to health and well-being?
Yeah, that's something that I've been working on currently, just talking to the other office bearers. And I mean, I'm just one voice that represents many people, and so I can't be in touch with everything all the time. So it's great to have that community and other office bearers that, you know, have another community again that they're in touch with, and they can talk to graduates in those areas. So that's something that we've been working towards, thinking about health and well-being across all of those areas and how it really does all link and connect with each other. And so yeah, just working towards health and well-being strategic plan that, you know, covers all of the graduates, that can be a starting point for some people, and, you know, seeking any extra help or support that they need. So yeah, working with the other graduates has been just the starting point for me at the moment, but it's something that I know a lot more come from.
Very important portfolio. And Ruby's details are there on the website, and that would be the best way to contact Ruby,
Yes.
rightly, because I think your ideas and concerns actually, you know, are it's really important tools for her to kind of get that information to plan for activities with our student engagement team. So thank you again, once again, Ruby, for, expressing interest to be a part of our council membership. But I can say, I've just been here for a short period of time, and seeing some of the interviews of the council members who have left the organization, what they've left behind and what they carry forward is a wealth of life skills that you take in your journey. So any final word from Jeremy or Lauren before I hand it over to Tevita? So any comments, final comments from you, Jeremy?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, of course, we can hear you.
Sorry, I was having mic issues. No, nothing really to add. I think seconding a lot of what Lauren and Ruby have said. I hope anyone listening has, gotten the impression that we are very willing to listen. And like they have said too, there are so many issues that have come out of the current situation that GSA is well tasked to help students with in a number of ways. So we are here to help, and thank you for listening to us, and very excited to hear from the grad reps as well.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And Lauren, any final parting words?
Yeah, just to welcome Ruby and the other new counsellors. It's wonderful to have them with us, and they're already accomplishing so much. It's going to be a really wonderful year.
Fantastic. So thank you so much to three of you. And I look forward to we were very fortunate to have another 3 or 4 members from the council. So we'll be working through to get people on to talking to the show. So before I move forward, I kind of wanted to explain to the people who are listening, is the aim of getting leadership developed at GSA is one of our key objectives, and we do that through a range of activities, through your council membership, but through our programs like the LEAD program. We have programs like the volunteer management, where leadership is not, as Jeremy said, having the loudest voice or the person who can be there for everything, but a person who can facilitate, and the growth of individuals' passion and interest are also exciting and wonderful contributors to our community. So keeping that on board, we also would like to highlight the value of graduate representatives who work behind the scenes with our graduate representative body and our student engagement body to continue this advocacy. And I'm so excited today to have Monica and Saeid on our show. And welcome, Tevita, to introduce our 2 graduate representatives and to hear a little bit about the work they do and what some of the challenges and highlights of their role are. So over to you, Tevita.
Great, thanks, Rachna. So I'm the GM for student engagement at GSA, and my team is responsible for putting things together, activities, online activities, and having some social engagement while we're going through this COVID crisis. But today I'm also happy and honoured to introduce our 2 graduate representatives on behalf of our Senior Policy Coordinator, Dr. Natasha Abrahams, who's on the line, who just not able to be talking due to some mic issues. So firstly, our representation team support graduate representatives at the university, and we currently have 44 of those student representatives who we put an expression of interest out, we go through a recruitment process, we provide training for them to be great advocates and engaged students on these committees throughout the university. And so those 44 actually represent on about 40 committees over the university. So they represent the best interests of postgraduate students on those committees. So today we have 2 guests. So Saeid Charani. And so Saeid is a PhD candidate in the Department of Infrastructure Engineering in Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Research Group. He is a graduate representative to the Sustainability Executive Committee and has been on that group since the beginning of 2019. So the Saeid Charani, Grad Rep for Sustainability Executive Committee. And also we have Monica Sestito, and she is the grad rep to the School of Languages and Linguistics Research and Research Training Committee. It's a long one. So Monica is studying her Masters of Arts, which is thesis only, in the School of Language and Linguistics. She's also been a member on that committee since May this year. So there are 2 reps there, and we're so honoured to have you on board, Rachna.
Thank you so much. And so I'm going to start off with Monica. Monica, how did you get interested in this graduate representative role, and what was the journey to GSA?
Great question, Rachna. So I started my Masters, as Tavita said, at the beginning of the year, and I did have an interest in getting involved in GSA in some capacity. I wasn't quite sure in what way at that stage, but with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, that really crystallized in my mind the importance of graduate-led advocacy. So it was really the crisis, or the unfolding crisis as it is, that galvanized me to take up an opportunity to join the Research and Research Training Committee of my school. And so it was a matter of completing an expression of interest, getting in touch with Natasha, as well as the rest of the representation team at GSA. And then from that moment, I did some training, and I have now attended one committee meeting, which was really, really fantastic and interesting. That's been my journey thus far.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit. I know it's interesting because, you know, you came in the beginning of the year, and then you took on the role, and I know there was a process for induction, and then suddenly we had this online presence. But how has that been? Like, what can you still continue to do advocacy, and what does the work look like during this kind of period for
Absolutely.
you?
At the moment, it's a matter of liaising with the other student representative of my committee. So it's been really nice to build rapport with someone else who's in a similar leadership role as myself. So that's Niles in the linguistic aspect of my school. So we've had the chance to get in touch with each other regularly and to plan reports to present to the committee. We were asked recently to present on the situation of graduate researchers in our school. And so working together, we were able to disseminate a survey to get a more representative sample of student responses to our questions pertaining to COVID-19. So all of this has been quite easy to facilitate online, or virtually as it were. It's obviously not the same as being able to catch up in person, but we've managed to work quite efficiently together, and all of the meetings have been run online, obviously, as well. So it's been as best as one could hope for, given the current circumstances.
Fantastic. So I think that leads me to another question, because you are at the heart of, you know, being a representative. What have been some of the challenges? I mean, we know a lot of the challenges, but from your perspective, some real challenges for graduates during the last 12 to 16 weeks.
It's a big question. There are so many, and there are so many different emphases as well, because of the diversity of situations of graduate researchers before COVID, in the sense that people have different work and caring responsibilities, which have been kind of highlighted by the COVID situation. I guess the main anxiety that students in my school certainly expressed to us most clearly was about the dwindling of scholarship funds and time, as it were, because research degrees are precisely time-based. They don't run according to semesters. It's kind of a race against the clock. So the anxiety of knowing that scholarship funds and time is dwindling was most keenly expressed by all students, more or less. And then and I guess it's hard to separate out issues because they're so intimately connected. The scholarship and time question or anxiety pervaded everything, but then there were more acute concerns regarding office working conditions and caring responsibilities, and so on and so forth. It's quite a complex situation. I'm sorry to give quite a meandering response. It's just that there are so many issues, but the overarching concern is about this dwindling scholarship and time, really.
I think I like to hear from you, as just to kind of resonate when people ask me this question is, what is GSA focusing on and what is important? Because at the moment, I don't feel I can put a weightage on anybody's grief or stress or mental health and say, you know, here's a score on 1 to 10. And for each one, it's personal. It is, in some cases, it's a loss. In some cases, it's just the pain of financials. Sometimes it's poor health. It's a range of issues. And I think there wasn't a 101 book ever written about how to manage humanity in this way. And so I think it's important that every advocacy issue requires some kind of attention, and we all need to delegate those responsibility to all of us so that it's not one person's crusade, but a joint collaborated crusade. And just being new to the role, Monica, did you feel you were supported by a GSA, and you know, what additional support we can put in place for you to help you execute your role effectively?
Absolutely. It was really fantastic to have a dedicated training session with Natasha, who leads the representation team. And in addition, it was really nice to feel supported by Niles, my fellow student representative, who has been in the role for a slightly longer period than myself. So I've already felt quite supported, but it will be really exciting moving forward should myself and Niles feel particularly passionate about particular issues that we'd like to advocate for on our committee, or should we be asked to speak to certain topics. It would be fantastic to know that GSA can reach out and provide us further training if necessary. But I'm sure that's a possibility already.
Thank you, Monica. We are absolutely indebted to you for your ongoing support and the honorary work that you do for the organization. And I don't think GSA would ever be the place it is without people like you who are, you know, who support us with the ongoing work. So thank you so much. And welcome, Saeid. And you have had a very long-term association with GSA.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for inviting me. And I would like to, first of all, welcome the new counselors and also welcome the old counselors to be on board again. Yeah, it's been almost 2 years, but 2 good years. I'm quite excited, and I'm happy to be a part of this.
So tell me a little bit about your role and what's the kind of the most rewarding part of your the work that you do as a graduate representative?
Well, that's a good question, Rachna, and I think being a graduate student representative has a couple of probably interesting things that I can say. First of all, I think personally it satisfies this feeling of commitment and responsibility that I felt to contribute to the sustainability and to be a proactive member of my community. I mean, Melbourne Uni, and also to get to know amazing people and learn from them. That was another interesting part of my journey as sustainability executive representative of GSA graduate student.
Fantastic. So you have been undertaking this role for a period of time, and have you found at points where, you know, being a representative is an ongoing advocacy, you know, you've got to repeat the issues and keep campaigning for it. What's that sense of feeling where sometimes when you have advocated it for its long time and it really happens because of your advocacy, what's that sense of feeling of success?
Oh, wow, that's a wonderful, you know, sense of satisfaction that you get out. It's so rewarding to see something's being done and you are a part of it. And but yeah, I agree that it might be also sometimes a bit confusing and when it gets long and you want to achieve something, but there are some let's say bureaucratical issues or some let's say challenges on the way. But I think that trial and that challenge and that effort at the end is always rewarding. For example, we've started some initiatives at GSA last year, and that feeling that also students can do their can do their initiative and can achieve their goals is also very interesting. And
Absolutely.
This is something that I enjoy. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think probably a message, what I'm hearing from you all is, you have an inner passion to kind of do something. Of course, your journey itself as a student is so important, and you take that on, particularly at a higher education level where you're not forced to go to school, but you make the conscious decision to progress your academic excellence is a conscious responsibility. But then thinking beyond yourself and thinking about others in a community is a spirit of humanity. And, it's something that in a fast-pacing global context, we find very limited these days, because we're very worried about ourselves and how to run the rat race. So it must be something where you've inculcated that sense of a sense of responsibility for your community that has got you to take on this role. Would that be right, Saeid?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what you said. Both my community, which is where I'm a close member of it, so I'd like to contribute to it, but also a global community in this era of climate change and lack of resources that would also contribute to a wider community. That's also another positive point.
Fantastic. And Saeid, I'm intrigued during a period of pandemic to ask people who are absolutely passionate about climate sustainability, how do you ever play weightage over one issue or the other? So, from your perspective, you must be sitting on a university, representative body advocating very strongly for issues that you're passionate about, while there is a whole global situation. What message would you like to give to graduates there about the importance that no issue is small or big, but it's important to advocate? Do you have anything to kind of add to that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. The lesson learned from this pandemic, I think, is that whatever challenge we are facing, if we contribute and if we all help and assist and work towards it together, then we could resolve it. As we could, every single of us helped and did something to flatten to curb the curve of COVID-19. So that means that this could be also applied to other things, for example, to this climate change issues. And if everyone contributes, that challenge could be resolved. And that is exactly what you mentioned. So that's that there are always solutions to these global challenges. And I'm glad that you asked this.
Fantastic. Saeid, thank you so much. And 2 years is a long time to be committed to a group, which we are so grateful to you. And you don't only contribute in that way, you contribute in every aspect of supporting GSA in our promotional work, for saying the good word. So I encourage graduates, whenever you do see a vacancy which is advertised by our fantastic representative team, Natasha, Vibol, Jonathan, and Ali, who do amazing work for GSA. And I can, I am so privileged and to be a part of a staff team who are absolutely committed to their work and to the issue and the cause of graduates. And I just feel so privileged to be a part of their team. But please feel free to ring people like Monica and Saeid, and whose contact details can be made available to you, to just talk to them about what their experiences are before getting too frightened about, is it something that I can do or can't do? So I think because each of those, if you had a little bit of time to commit, I think they also make a valuable contribution in your skills development, in your prospect to network, to see the world in a lens through other people's views to understand tough bureaucracy. And I am so grateful, Monica and Saeid, for your contribution, and thank the representative team for, you know, their ongoing support for supporting you with this work. And I may then hand it over to Tevita to tell us a little bit about what's coming up at GSA this week.
Great, thanks, Rachna, and so good to hear from all our councillors and representatives on the call today. Yeah, we have huge respect for the time and efforts that you put into representing postgrads. As Rachna said, so this week the student engagement team have put together a few activities, and like every other week, we have 4 webinars this week, and today was the first of the 4. And so this week we'll be having a session tomorrow actually at 3 p.m. and we'll be having CAPS on board to deliver a seminar on the anxiety around results. So helping you deal with that anxiety and some strategies to sort of get through it. We also have tomorrow a meditation session which we partnered up with one of our graduate groups. So Meditate, which is the medical students a group that are putting together a sort of meditation and mindfulness session tomorrow, and that's at 1:30. Later in the week, so Wednesday, we have a drop-in dance session, and it's the theme of 2000s pop. So for any of you people who are into dropping in and dancing and just loosening up yourself with support of GSA, of course, please jump into that dance session. I've heard from other counsellors who have been involved that it's a great way to sort of clear the mind, especially this time of year. Wednesday, Rachna is hosting a session with the Victoria Legal Aid, and we have a solicitor, Jen Lynch, on the call talking through discrimination law, and so with a focus on racial, religious, and employment discrimination. So really interesting topic there, and I encourage people to jump on the call. So that's 3 o'clock again, so that's Wednesday. And also that the same day, we have a general trivia happening, and we've got one of our counsellors, our activities officer, Mass, who's going to be hosting that trivia session for us on Wednesday evening at 4. And then we'll close out the week with a conversation club, so a discussion group to just talk about a movie that was put in a poll, Fight Club. If anyone's got interested in that movie, to have a discussion and some underlying messages of that movie in that session. And then our last webinar for the week is work skills series. So we've partnered up with Careers and Employability at the University. So Sophie Bryant is going to be talking to us about networking, and then using interviews, using your interview skills to support networking and to help with some strategies around your LinkedIn profile. And then lastly for the week, Fridays, as we have done for the last 8 weeks or so now, Feel Good Friday session. We've got Bumpy, it's a jazz and soul pop duo just to ring in the weekend, and that's at 3 p.m. on Friday. So for more details and exact times and registrations, please go to our Facebook page. It's a great way to see what's going on for GSA in terms of all our online engagement, but also the work we do in the representation space. Please go to that. So we're also on our, if you want to speak to us, it's 1-800-GSA-HELP. Otherwise, an email's okay too, just by getting in touch with us via info@gsa.unimel.edu.au. And lastly, if I can, Rush, I might just plug our LEAD program. So GSA every year for the last 3 years have run a leadership program for postgraduates at the University of Melbourne, and as no different this year, we've just opened up applications to this year's LEAD program. It'll be a virtual environment where we'll be supporting students to find and sort of build on their potential as being a leader in their own right. And so it is currently a semester program that we're running fortnightly after hours, and the details are on the website. So please go to the GSA website, and if you go to if you type in LEAD, or if you just go to the work skills area of the website, there's a section there on LEAD. So there's all the details and a promo code. But if you click the link, put your application in, and applications close 16th July.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tevita. I mean, it's so encouraging that, you know, GSA has been able to support our graduates through the support of the council and other graduate groups. And I definitely would like a plug into a couple of programs is the graduate groups. We have 149 to 150 of them. They are extremely proactive. They pursued different interests, different issues. And, you know, I encourage graduates to definitely contact them. And this information is available on our website to contact them and be a part of that group, because, you know, it addresses an ability to connect with other people, but also be able to be GSA to be funding these small groups that can pursue particular interest. So as we kind of finish up for this afternoon, I do understand it's been a challenging couple of days for all of us in the community, with a bit of spike in the number of COVID cases that are being presented. But I think, again, taking up some good responsibility as community members, ensuring that we all play a part in supporting a global resolution to this issue that, you know, it's not something that can be done by an individual, but a collective effect. And I think GSA looks forward to continue delivering our services to our graduates on the online platform and undertaking the advocacy to ensure that we can effectively support you through this journey of your higher education that you are committed to. And over the next few weeks, I just wanted to say to you is that there are some town hall meetings that we're having for graduate researchers, which have been advertised on our Facebook. If you are a graduate researcher, please do join us to kind of tell us about your concerns so that we have a stronger platform for advocacy. And we will be soon launching a higher education retention of funding and quality to education campaign at GSA, and look forward to your participation. So thank you once again to the student engagement team for doing such a wonderful job and putting this webinar together, the 3 council members, Jeremy, Lauren, and Ruby, our graduate representatives, Monica and Saeid, and my wonderful staff at GSA. Goodbye from now.